Warning, this podcast episode contains swearing, drinking, references to murder, torture, rape, violence, and just general not fun stuff. So very much in this episode, beyond all else, listener discretion is advised. Also, we had some more audio difficulties during this episode. We really need to invest in a new microphone, but if you hear some blips, that's that. It's not just your headphones, you know.
Hello and welcome to Demons and Bellinis, the podcast where we whip up a drink and talk about some spooky shit. I put the normal in paranormal. I'm Molly.
And allow me to get into something more comfortable. Peels off skin. I'm Ashley. Today we will be talking about Satanism, serial killers, and all that jazz. So, grab a beverage of your choosing, get cozy, and check your closets for serial killers, please. And remember to stay peachy. And safe. Please be safe.
So this next episode is gonna get a little bit heavy.
Okay. Yeah, let me just okay.
Yeah, this is also we should probably thank you for staying with us for almost a year. This is coming out on the 12th, I believe. So in a day it'll be a year. So thank you.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, can you believe that we did that shit episode of Pavelia Island a year ago?
Podcast episode content for the boys!
Wait, let's do a clink, clink, clink. Thank you.
That was horrible. Alright. So, this one's a bit different from what we've done in the past, and it's something that I've, been kind of a side passion of mine. I love true crime.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's absolutely fascinating. If I was good at math and science, I'd probably want to, get into something related to true crime.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not hands-on, but I think, and I don't find it fascinating in, the, oh, I'm so horny kind of way. Mm-hmm. I think it's fascinating from, as a writer who loves writing horror and loves writing villains, I think it's very fascinating to get inside the mind of people who do these kinds of things. And it's kind of showed me that every single human being is capable of doing these things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We all just have our own edge, and it takes certain amounts, different kinds of things to push people over that edge.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's on the other side of that edge, and there's no coming back from what's on that side of the edge.
Yeah. Not to be all Freudian and shit, but the unconscious is really where we hide all of our deepest, darkest fears.
But yeah. And it's not even that too, it's what a human being can take. That kind of stress. And for some people it can be a lot until they get to that edge when they just murder someone. Or for some people it's very sudden. There's a lot of true crime cases where people just snapped.
Yes.
And there's nothing that they can do to go back from that. There's one case that happened in Australia. I'm not going to go into the details of this one because it's bad. It's a really bad one. But there was this guy, and he was cleaning the dishes when his wife started to get very upset with him, and they ended up having an argument, and he just grabbed a knife and stabbed her in the throat.
Yep.
And then he was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
What did I just do? It was just that,
it's just that
hit
sudden,
that edge. Yeah. So I think that every single person is like that, and, I just find that kind of side of thing fascinating. What can push a human being that far?
Yeah.
And what's the motivation? Can you justify it?
They are very complex, very gray stories.
Cool motivation,
still murder. Right? Yeah.
So that's how I really look at true crime. I also want to say really quick too is that I think I am gonna, because we've made this podcast a safe place.
We have.
So I'm not going to go into a lot of details with what I'm going to talk about. That said, I think true crime is one of the things that shouldn't really be censored. And I say, okay, hear me out. I say that because nobody looks at true crime and thinks, there's gonna be nothing in here that's gonna upset me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody looks at true crime, anything true crime, and thinks that this will not upset me.
Yeah.
Like, true crime inherently is going to be upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happened, it will always be upsetting because
Yeah.
you are dealing with death and violence and just the whole skew of everything, right?
Yes.
And so I feel with true crime is that if you hide the facts, you can't get an accurate image of what happened, and you can't get an accurate judgment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how trials work. Like, everything is discussed in a trial. Like, photographs, video evidence, everything. All on the table. Right? So it's like, you can't get, like, and so I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts.
Yes.
My absolute favorite is Sword and Scale. And Sword and Scale, they just are like, we're about true crime.
Mm-hmm.
Listen at your own discretion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they have the real audio from, like, 911 calls, the real trial audio, the real interrogation audio. Like, I've heard, like, on this podcast, I've heard real 911 phone calls from people.
Those are absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, from people who have, like, either just killed someone or people who have found someone dying.
Mm-hmm.
I can't describe what it's like to listen to that.
Yeah, no.
It's really, like, an unreal experience.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they censored that, then I wouldn't be able to actually think about what I'm listening to.
True crime feels very removed from ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, even to the extent where, like, we're from the greater Vancouver area, but to give some background, we're very close to where the Robert Pickton murders happened.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I never looked up the details until very recently.
Oh, yeah, it's disturbing.
Yes.
But scary.
Apparently he still goes into the Port Coquitlam City Hall sometimes. Like, not sorry, the brother.
Yeah, the brother.
Yeah, the brother. And apparently it creeps the out of everyone.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the brother of an actual serial killer.
And people think that he's the one who helped him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still walking free.
Yeah, and that's why I think, like, for me, it's very, like, it can be hard to listen to true crime, but I think that it's an important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And when we do talk about it, I think we need to acknowledge everything that happened.
Yes.
And, like, it can be really hard, but I think that if we as a society need to, like, look that monster in the face sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only way that we can, like, move forward. And especially when it comes to really, intense cases, when everyone is looking at it, I think, you know, again, it's like, viewer discretion advised. Like, it all comes down to what you do. Like, with Sword and Scale, if you know that you can't handle a lot of, like, anything on the board, right? Like, then to the true crime board, don't listen to Sword and Scale. The other podcasts I love, but this one is, like, even more so. Like, it's worse than Sword and Scale in terms of, like, not holding anything back, but is amazing. Is called Monstro. It's from the same guy who does Sword and Scale and a couple of other true crime. But Monstro is very different because what it does is that it actually puts you in the mind of the murderer.
Okay.
And they tell a story instead of telling you the facts. So it's like an actual, like, you're listening to a murder happen, because that's sometimes what they do. Like, it's very immersive.
Okay.
Like, you hear sounds and they put you basically in the killer's head.
Yeah, I can see why that would get a little bit disturbing.
Yeah. It's probably the most insane thing I have ever listened to.
Yeah.
And I love it. But it's It is absolutely
Yeah.
And, like, the hosts of it and the writers for it, they're like, this is But, like, they have that, it's very clear that what you're about to listen to is
Yeah.
So, like, if you know that you can't handle it, walk away. Like,
yeah.
But what I like about that is, like, they say, like, you know what, we're not holding anything back. It's up to you as the listener to decide if you can handle this. Right? And I think that is what I think is important with true crime, is, like, what you as a person can handle.
Well, yeah, of course. Like, I mean, I agree with you on the stance that people should be not less sensitized, but more open to receiving true crime and not just shying away from it. But at the same time, know your limits.
Oh, yeah,
and keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
Please. That's why we have our discretion, our disclaimers at the top of every episode, because you're
gonna have to disclaim everything for what I'm gonna talk about today, Molly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What was that one where I was like,
was it?
And I just said, yeah.
Was it the?
I think that might have been the Demon Cat one.
Demon Cat, but it could also have been the one that inspired the,
Conjuring?
Yeah, because that one was also
Yeah.
That was a episode.
Yeah, where you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we're getting into today. Sorry.
Yeah, like right off the bat, you know it's going to be a little bit f***ed when I say we're talking about serial killers and Satanism.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think humans are a lot more scarier than demons. I'm going to be real with y'all. Yeah.
Well,
because you never know what's going on in somebody's head. And like going back to that edge thing, you never know what somebody's edge is, right? Like, love my parents, but if one of them snapped, like, that could happen. You could snap. I could snap.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend could snap. Like,
my partners could snap.
Yeah, like that power is in every single human being to do that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can actually bite your finger off, but your brain tells you not to.
Yeah.
Right? But if you lost that instinct, you just bite your finger off.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you go over that edge, you bite your finger off.
Yeah. Please don't bite your finger off.
Please don't. Like, don't try that.
Yeah. Please don't try this
at
home,
like,
kids.
don't actually put your finger in your mouth and try to bite
Don't
it.
try any of the stuff that we talk about on Demons and Bellinis.
Especially this episode.
Yeah.
Especially this one. I cannot stress that enough. Shit's f***ed, honey. Alright, I'm gonna try to, like, put jokes in throughout this because it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad. There is everything from... It's just bad. It's bad.
Yeah. I started pre-drinking at maybe 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, I wasn't going to drink, and then I got off work.
I got off work as well. Again, don't do that at home. I would recommend better coping mechanisms than
Pre-drink with a friend.
Yes. I would also recommend pre-drinking to the Smiths. I just got Hateful of Hollow on vinyl.
Shut up, you hipster.
I felt like a
I listen to the Smiths. Have you heard the song... Oh, what is it? Where is my mind?
That's not even part of this.
Oh, shit! God damn it! That's what it is. No, what is the one Smith
Asleep.
song? That's it! But I knew it was that one, but I was like, that was not even on this one. No, I got it mixed up because they have that one and Where is My Mind on the Sucker Punch soundtrack. That's how I found it. It was the Sucker Punch soundtrack.
All of my music taste just comes from the Sucker Punch soundtrack.
Which is good taste.
The Sucker Punch soundtrack
It does. It slaps.
It's so good.
I want Jamie Chung to beat the shit out of me.
God, don't we all?
That's how I realized I was bi.
Yeah, you've mentioned that on
It
this
was
podcast.
Jamie Chung and Jude Law's Watson.
Yeah.
That did it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before I get into talking about this case, I want to talk about Satanism.
Okay.
Because we're a podcast about demons. I should talk about Satanism.
Yeah, and it's often not misrepresented necessarily, because I don't inherently believe that Satanism is bad, but people can use it in a very, very, very bad way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. So I actually did a lot of reading for this. I read the whole essay that's on the actual official Temple of Satan website, which was... I've read academic essays before, but this was something else. Like, honey, we get it. You have a thesaurus. Shut the f*** up.
Yeah, there are some people who just go open up their thesaurus and just
There's
pick
legitimately
up any fucking word.
There was literally one word that I had to look up, and it literally was just, it meant adverse, but they couldn't say adverse. They had to say something, but adverse is already a thesaurus word.
Yeah. If you can say it in less words, say it in less words.
Man, so actually, like, I totally just lost my train of thought.
You did your research, and you read this essay.
Yeah, so I did a lot of looking into just what Satanism is, and I wanted to find, like, the actual words of people who were Satanists. And so, who better than the person who wrote the official Satanic Bible in the 60s, and the person who founded the Temple of Satan, or the Satanic Temple in 2013. So that's where the majority of my research comes from. So, like I said before, this episode will be pretty heavy, as it's dealing with true crime, and a pretty horrendous one at that. Like, I've heard a lot of true crime, and this one just takes the cake. It takes it. I have done my best to make this, like, as soft as possible, but do keep in mind, like, you know, as we were just talking about, it's true crime, and, you know, I think it's important.
Yeah, there's only so much that we can censor.
Yeah, but that said, I'm not gonna go into the gruesome details.
Yeah.
That's for Sword and Scale or another true crime podcast to do. Edit that sound out, please. I basically just wrote an essay instead of actual notes because I wanted to like actually word it how I would say this. Okay. This is a lot. Yeah. So, you actually kind of said this for me because I know in the past you said that it's misunderstood often or like misrepresented. And I think one time you also said that like it's not as scary as people think it is.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. And I think that's a 100% valid statement, but I think it's also a valid statement that majority of people who don't know what Satanism is that they are scared of it. Because I think of people like who we're going to talk about, I think that is valid. But again, do your research.
Well, I mean...
But then again, if like you're scared of something, you're not going to research it.
Yeah, I'm going to say this about religion very broadly, especially considering like occult religions.
Yeah.
It's much like cars.
Oh,
cars can be very useful tools, but they can also be extremely destructive. Please use your discretion. Yeah,
and I want to say quickly too is that I'm not saying that people who are Satanists are bad or murderers. That's not what I'm saying.
They're not.
What I'm saying is that there are people who have used this tool in a bad way, and that's who we're talking about today.
Yes.
Got that out of the way. We can move on. Yes. So, a lot of people's fear of Satanism actually really took off in the 70s and 80s.
Satan panic.
Satan panic, honey!
Panic at the Satanist disco.
Oh, senpai's Satan disco. Sorry, I showed Molly a photo of Pennywise, but it had like hentai anime eyes over Pennywise's eyes. And I was just like...
It was also the one picture where he looks like he's doing the dog Snapchat emoji thing.
Oh, Pennywise senpai desu. Sorry. I've been watching too much anime with Brock recently. Get the pillow out of my face! The Satan Panic in the 1980s. It came as a result of heavy metal bands and movies and comic books and books. They kind of pushed the boundary of what parents thought was acceptable.
Yes. Well, if you look at hair bands and like glam rock,
it up.
They're great.
Oh yeah,
I love them a lot.
Yeah, like my dad, he was a teenager who was into like Metallica and Iron Maiden. Yeah. Like my dad recently went to go see Iron Maiden when they were in Vancouver. My dad was actually in the mosh pit for Iron Maiden.
Oh my god. I would go into the mosh pit for Iron Maiden. One of the vinyls that I own is actually a Best of Cure, which I know is not like metal or glam rock. I mean, it's goth. It's goth rock, but like
goth Satan. Sad boy Satan.
It's so good.
Sad boy Satan.
Robert Smith wears so much guy liner.
What kind of like Snapchat stories would Sad Boy Satan post in 2019?
Oh. Just got kicked out of the house. You dad?
It's not a phase.
Satan is definitely an e-boy.
Oh, he's totally an e-boy. He totally wears like the t-shirt with the striped long sleeve underneath.
I have seen e-boys on the SkyTrain and they terrify me. I have seen them in public. I didn't think that they existed anywhere else but f***ing TikTok.
E-boys are braver than the U.S. Marines.
Brave for going out of the house looking like that.
I mean, like, half of the YouTubers I watch go out of the house looking like that. They went to TwitchCon looking like that. Disgusting! No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. They looked good. It was fine.
We're 23 minutes in.
God, this is gonna be a long episode. Okay. So, they pushed the boundary of what was considered acceptable by society and by parents, but it also came during a period when some of the most prolific serial killers were active in the US, and a few of them, notably the Night Stalker, claimed to be Satanists. Yes, we're talking about the Night Stalker today. So, also in the US, around the same time as when the Night Stalker was active, was David Berkowitz, Sean Sellers, and the Ripper Crew, all of whom claimed to be either in contact with demons, were possessed, or were Satanists and used their victims in rituals. Do yourself a favor. Do not, and I repeat, do not Google the Ripper Crew. Do not.
Okay.
Unless, like, you are prepared to see the worst fucking disgusting thing that men have done, don't. Do not. Because I will hunt you down and I'll break your kneecaps. Do not.
Last episode you said swift bop on the head, and now you're going right to
well, no,
breaking
I'm
the
serious
kneecaps.
because
Well, yeah.
because I didn't know what the Ripper Crew was, so because I just looked up satanic serial killers, you know, and I saw there was a Ripper Crew, and I was like, oh, it's the Ripper Crew. It was bad. Do not Google the Ripper Crew. Don't. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
I'm not going into details about them because they're disgusting people and they deserve to rot.
Okay. Good.
And I say that with hatred.
Good.
Alright, anyways, moving on. So what exactly is Satanism? Google defines Satanism as, quote, the worship of Satan typically involving a travesty of Christian symbols and practices such as placing a cross upside down.
No,
no.
that's St. Peter's cross.
Yeah, that's not...
Yeah, not to be
No.
like, actually, sweetie, the inverted cross is actually St. Peter's symbol, because that has been oversaid.
St. Peter didn't think he was worthy to be executed.
Crucified the same way as Jesus.
Yeah, so he had his upside down.
Yeah.
Not satanic.
No, not even like the inverted pentacle is really satanic inherently.
No, it's just like if you use it.
Exactly, yeah, because the upright pentacle is more like about like protection, whereas
Yeah.
the upside down is more about like summoning.
Yeah. Like a summoning circle.
Yeah, exactly.
The things I learned from Supernatural. So, moving on. That's not what Satanism is. Here's what Satanism is. Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan in the 1960s, believed that, quote, social Darwinism was the scientific counterpoint to what he saw as Christianity's imposition of an adverse illusion of altruism. While traditional social Darwinists arbitrarily categorized people into groups and races, often as a means for justifying colonialism and racism, LaVey focused solely on the merits of the individual, judged upon talent, intelligence, and contribution rather than pedigree. To LaVey, the post-Nazi era renunciation of social Darwinist ideas was an example of throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So basically, to sum up that thesaurus-ridden quote, so Anton LaVey was inspired by social Darwinism, and for those of you who don't know, social Darwinism came out of Darwinism, which was all about,
survival of the fittest.
That technically came from another dude who inspired social Darwinism.
Right.
But yeah, Darwin was all about the evolution of species, how man came to be, and Darwin was very like, don't use my theories for human beings. Don't do it. And then what did they do? They did
using
it.
artificial Darwinism, which is where eugenics comes from, and we're not going to dive into that because that is also very frightening.
Yeah, and it's where you get like racism and all that jazz.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically like there's a specific human being that's meant to lead, and it's the white man.
If you
It's
go
like,
into
eat ass.
any historical or like scientific like principle, there's always going to be a history of social Darwinism in there.
Yep.
Anywhere. And it's disgusting.
Yep. So in the 60s, when just after, the Nazis and stuff like that, when that brought a revival of social Darwinism, Anton LaVey believed that it wasn't about the color of your skin or your gender. It was about who you were as a person that made you the kind of human being who was meant to lead.
I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, yeah,
that's not absolutely horrible in principle.
In principle, it's not that bad. But Anton LaVey gets a little sketchy.
Yes. I don't actually know a lot. I don't know a whole lot about this guy, so I'm very intrigued.
He lived a spicy life.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
He wrote the Satanic Bible.
Yeah, he did. So he kind of made it was about. I'll get more into this, but it's about the individual and who you were, and that was not really something you had control over. That was just something that like you were born with. So again, getting
Okay.
Kind of weird.
Okay.
But it was about, like, if you had power. And that's where we're going.
Okay.
So this idea was centered to his book that started the Church of Satan. To him, Satan was a symbol of rebellion. However, when it comes to if LaVey actually believed in the devil or magic or spirits, it remains unclear. The mother of his son said that he practiced magic daily, but he denied ever such practice. We don't really know.
Okay.
Apparently, the house where he used to live in, people claim that he did a lot of rituals in that house, but Anton LaVey has said that, like, he didn't do rituals, so it's really hard to pin that down.
Yeah.
So while he was influenced by social Darwinism, he didn't so much take it as a racial aspect of social Darwinism, but he used it to define the masses.
Okay.
The masses, as understood from the LaVeyan perspective, are the antithesis of the satanic individuals who stand apart as the alien elite. This is where things get a little spicy.
Okay.
Also think the antithesis there, that's like a really, do you know what the antithesis thesis is?
No.
So this is used a lot to talk about how, like, history, but also just a lot of concepts in general that exist in the world. So you have a thesis, that's something that exists in the world, whether it be a concept, a person, place, thing, anything like that, and you have an antithesis, the opposite of it, something that's opposed to this thesis.
Okay.
And then they have their struggle, their conflict, their war, whatever it's going to be, and then you get a synthesis. And that's, like, the conclusion. And then from that synthesis, you get thesis, antithesis again, and the cycle continues.
Okay.
So a lot of people, that's how a lot of people look at history as well, which is just a constant battle of thesis versus antithesis.
Yeah. Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah. I think it was Hegel that did that. He was a historian, weird dude with a beard. So he believed that the masses were the antithesis to the satanic individuals. The masses are the conformist herd who need to be ruled, in his words. Thus, the Church of Satan's anti-authoritarianism is not a rejection of authoritarian policies or tyrannical leadership. Rather, it is the delusion that true Satanists will always occupy the upper strata of rulers over the ruled. So he believed that true Satanists were people with power, with, like, predestined power.
Okay.
And those people will always be the rulers. And then there are the masses who will always be ruled.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he went on to say in the Satanic Bible, quote, "If the love of money is the root of all evil, then we must at least assume the most powerful men on earth to be the most satanic. This applies to financiers, industrialists, popes, poets, dictators, and all assorted opinion makers and field marshals of the world's activities."
Poets?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah.
I don't think they're particularly rich.
No.
But, you know.
That was the quote.
I mean, if you're going off of, like, early modern poets, then maybe. Because, I mean, yeah, they're more influential.
Maybe he means more of, like, celebrities.
Yeah, okay.
So, in Anton LaVey's eyes, true Satanists are people who hold power.
Yes.
And whatever that power is, whether it's money or it's a physical power, that makes them Satanist. So the official Satanic Temple website says that, quote, "Here's where things get a little spicy. And when I'm starting to judge people on Tumblr for not doing their fucking research when they make a post."
Okay.
Quote, "Soon after the election of Donald Trump as U.S. president in 2016...
Oh, we're getting political here. Okay.
An entertainment and lifestyle magazine, Rooster, covered the story of the Satanic Temple's sudden resilient boom in membership within hours of election results, presumably in response to a rising concern that evangelical theocrats had managed to overtake the executive branch. In contrast, the Rooster reported the Church of Satan seemed to embrace the new administration. It is quoted in the Rooster saying that Brawl Antony, a reverend in the Church of Satan, says that the Church of Satan believes in Trump positions like lex talionis, law and order, and capital punishment. The Church's official policy is to never endorse candidates, but it does stand for the Trumpian beliefs that might make right that great men should rule lesser men, and that love is not all you need. You have to have hate," Antony said.
Gross.
he went on to say, there's probably a lot of Trump voters within the Church of Satan. He refused to say who he voted for. But he did say, I could definitely understand why a Satanist would vote for Trump.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's because that whole true men will always have power. Trump has money, therefore he has power. Therefore, true Satanist.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that's why whenever I see a post on Tumblr talking about, like, oh, the Church of Satan accept gays. Yeah, they accept gays, but they also accept Trump. Like, come on. Come on, people.
I'm gonna take back, or not entirely take back, that the Church of Satan is... Okay.
You can... Here's what I'm gonna talk about. Before you say that, let me say this.
Yeah.
In 2013, there was a schism, and the Satanic Temple was founded by Lucian Graves and Malcolm Jerry. They believed that the Church of Satan failed to become a relevant modern organization, and that it is the reason that Satanism had faded from public discussion. Greaves goes on to say, quote, from the beginning, the Satanic Temple offered a stark contrast to the Church of Satan's anti-altruistic philosophy of self-interest, stating in their first tenet, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Resolutely non-theistic, the Satanic Temple does not endorse supernatural or supernormal explanations, a position also codified in the tenets which state, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should never take care to distort scientific facts to fit one's belief. So Church of Satan? No. Satanic Temple? Yeah?
Okay. I'm glad that we've made that clarification there.
Yeah. So if you're gonna try to think about getting into Satanism, Satanic Temple is probably your safest bet.
Yeah. And
Satanic Temple actually works to have masses. They have weekly gatherings. You know, it's not just funny tweets on Twitter.
Okay.
Which is which Greaves actually roasted the Church of Satan so hard by pointing out that, like, all you do is post tweets on Twitter trying to be edgy. So yeah, I mean,
Satanists don't have to try to be edgy.
So keeping in mind that Satanism is a lot to do with power, that takes us to serial killers.
Okay.
You can make the argument that a lot of people do kill serially for a kind of power.
Yes.
So there are many serial killers who believed in Satanism or in the supernatural. Not that those are the same thing, but to them it was, a dark thing. It was using the tool in a bad way. For example, Jeffrey Dahmer wanted to build an altar out of the bones and bodies of his victims. He also believed that having the altar would make him a better killer. Sean Sellers, who I mentioned earlier, read and carried the Satanic Bible with him wherever he went, even when he murdered a convenience store clerk before murdering his mother and stepfather. In his confession, he wrote, quote, demons were the beings that would do things I wanted done. They were the keys to the power Satanism promised.
Yeah.
So again, Satanism is about power, having that true power. And so this guy and many others found it in murder and in demons.
Gross.
In her article, Serial Killers and the Supernatural, Dr. Catherine Ramsland says, quote, none of these killers suffered from an overt delusional disorder, but each had developed a sense that exercising the ultimate power yielded secret knowledge and made them special. For example, Ted Bundy called his dumping grounds his church, end quote.
Ooh. I didn't know that he called it that.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy is really just
a spicy individual.
He's the crop of an absolute horrible person.
Even who we're going to talk about today?
I don't know. I'm not going to rank serial killers. I'm not Watch Mojo.
Top 10 serial killers who definitely fucked.
Shut up.
Top 10 serial killers who definitely said the F word.
Top 10 serial killers who should be played by Zac Efron. Number 1, Troy Bolton.
Troy Bolton's a serial killer.
Troy Bolton fucks.
murdered a man.
And it was the manager from High School Musical too. The one who made them actually do their job.
Number 2, J.K. Rowling.
Can I please have a movie where Zac Efron is playing J.K. Rowling?
He just pops up at random moments to remind you that Dumbledore is a
Continue with your serial killer article, please. This is better than...
Alright. Dr. Ramsling goes on to say, so this goes back to what Satanism means when they talk about power. To these killers, murder may have gotten them that much closer to having power over the masses. Dr. Ramsling goes on to say, quote, through malignant... Did I say that word? Malignant?
I don't know how that's pronounced.
Some believe that no one stands closer, save the victims, to this liminal experience. Therefore, murder gives them a privileged access to a rich quantum field. Because basically what she's saying is that murdering someone gets you that much closer to understanding what death is, and that kind of weird boundary, than with this kind of, like,
that is an
knowledge.
Unhealthy fascination,
right?
To say the least.
Yeah, and it provides them with this knowledge of that boundary, and in a way that in of itself is kind of a magic. Dark magic.
Disgusting magic.
Yeah, it's not a good magic.
Just trying a magic 8-ball like the rest of us.
All
Bad
right.
joke, sorry.
So this is where it's gonna get bad. We're gonna talk about my case.
Okay.
The killer in particular that I want to focus on today is Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker. What Ramirez did was disgusting. It was awful. If you know you cannot handle murder, assault, and mentions of torture, please stop listening now. You have been warned. Alright, so Richard was born to Mercedes and Julian Ramirez in El Paso, Texas on February 28, 1960. When he was a young child, he fell off a swing and hit his head, causing him to develop epilepsy. This led him allegedly to become a heavy drug user in his teens, and some say led him to Satanism. As a preteen, he spent a lot of time with his cousin Miguel, who was a Vietnam vet. You might want to brace yourself. Miguel allegedly told him gruesome stories about what he had done to Vietnamese women, photos he had taken of what he had done to them. He is 13 years old when he watches his cousin murder his wife. Ramirez dropped out of school in grade 9, and not long after, in 1977, he was arrested for the first time for marijuana possession. After that, he moved to California, where he developed a cocaine addiction and began a spree of burglary and started to practice Satanism. He was arrested twice for car theft in 1981 and 1984. He also began to neglect his personal hygiene at this point. Apparently, it was extremely noticeable and disgusting. So, let me just put this into perspective for you. He is 13 years old when he watches his cousin murder his wife. He then moves to California after dropping out of high school in grade 9, where he develops a cocaine addiction, gets interested in Satanism, and starts to try to steal anything and everything. And he's barely a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was doing the math in my head while you were talking about that.
Just put that in. This is all the things that push a human being to the edge.
Not gonna say that I feel sorry for him because
I don't think he deserves pity.
No, he doesn't.
That's this kind of stress that a human being goes through to push them to that edge.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if he's growing up with someone who he presumably looks up to a lot, who's constantly talking about murder and assault,
torture and assault,
then that's what will not necessarily lead you to serial killing, but that is one of our push factors.
Yeah, it definitely pushes you.
Yeah.
And then he watches said cousin, who he looks up to a lot, murder his wife. Yeah. So, Ramirez's first known murder, I say known a lot because his number of victims ranges drastically. I'll talk about that later. Yeah, so his first known murder took place on June 28th, 1984. He broke into Janine Vinkow's home. He allegedly brutally attacked her, murdered her, and then robbed her home. His next known murder was March 17th, 1985. He attacked...
15 at this point?
He was born in 1960.
25?
Something like that.
Mm.
Early 20s.
Ooh.
Young man. His next known murder was March 17th, 1985. He attacked Marie Hernandez, who fortunately was able to escape. However, Ramirez was determined to kill that night. He found Maria's roommate, Dale Okazaki, and murdered them. That same evening, he murdered Tsai Lian Yu. This sparked a media frenzy. This double murder and assault earned him the name the Valley Intruder. 10 days later, on March 27th, 1985, Ramirez broke into Vincent Zazzara and his wife's Maxine's home. Vincent was shot and killed before Maxine was assaulted and murdered. She was found with her eyes gouged out. This attack was repeated with William and Lily Doy in May of 1985. At this point, there was a full-scale police operation and FBI force trying to find him. Media and police pressure made Ramirez leave the LA area. In San Francisco, he murdered Peter and Barbara Pan on August 17th, 1985. He covered their walls of their home with satanic symbolism. This earned him the name the Night Stalker. Never name a serial killer.
Give him the biggest ego.
Don't name a serial killer. God. Just don't. Just don't name serial killers. Yeah.
Makes for a catchy catchphrase, but you know.
Don't. So yeah, that... I couldn't, like, we live now and killers don't really, they aren't like, it's...
They aren't...
They're rarer.
Yeah.
They still exist. But yeah, like,
but they aren't nicknamed and they don't have that same media that they did.
No. I think, like, if I was alive during this, like, if I lived in the LA area in 1985 when this was happening, I would have been terrified out of my f***ing mind.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
no,
that's
no
absolutely
kidding.
Terrifying. Because he would just...
It really is.
And, like, no lock or anything could, like, keep him out. He would just break into your house.
Yeah.
The place where you expect to be the most safe. He would break into and just murder you in the most gruesome ways. Yeah. After they gave him the name, it's gonna get worse. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. We're almost done. So on August 24th, 1985, Ramirez broke into a home in Mission Viejo, also in California. There, he raped a woman and killed her fiancé. He allegedly made the woman swear her love to Satan. Okay. Yeah. That night, he was spotted by another witness. He left a footprint, and his car and license plate was noted. Got a little sloppy. The victim that night...
Sloppy bitch.
The victim that night survived and gave the police a detailed description of Ramirez. His car was found a few days later, and he had left enough fingerprints to give police a profile that matched Ramirez's record. His prison photo from the last time he was arrested was broadcasted and printed in newspapers. On August 31st of that year, he was caught trying to steal a car in East LA. Residents then proceeded to beat the shit out of him before calling the police.
I mean, not gonna say that I entirely blame them.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
I'm not a violent person, but if I had the opportunity to just kick the shit out of Richard Ramirez, I totally would.
So during that time, jumped ahead there. So, he was arrested that night, and he waited in jail until July 1988! 88! Still no trial. He waited in jail until July 1988 for his trial to begin. During that time, a cult of supporters flocked to him. Whenever he appeared in court, Ramirez dressed in black and wore black sunglasses. During his trial, one of the jury members was found murdered on August 14th, 1989. There are rumors that Ramirez had orchestrated her death, but they were unfounded. Her death remains unsolved. On September 20th, 1989, Ramirez was unanimously found guilty on 43 charges, including 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 sexual assault charges, and 14 burglary charges. 2 weeks later, he was sentenced to death on 19 of those counts. As he left the courtroom that day, Ramirez is alleged to have said, quote, "Hey, big deal. Death always comes with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland," end quote. There is also video footage of him leaving the courtroom during his trial, saying, quote, "Hail Satan," end quote. He also had a pentagram on his palm, which he would hold up to photographers. While incarcerated, Ramirez married one of his supporters, 41-year-old Doreen Leoy, in 1996. His appeal in 2006 was rejected. During this time, he was also connected to more crimes. DNA evidence connected him to the assault and murder of a 9-year-old girl in 1984 in San Francisco. He spent 24 years on death row before dying on June 7, 2013, at the age of 53 due to complications related to B-cell lymphoma. So since his death, the Night Stalker has become an infamous character in pop culture. He has appeared as a character in American Horror Story in 2015. There are several documentaries and dramatized biographical films. Going back to American Horror Story, apparently he is a big character in the new season, which is set in 1984. It's like meant to be like a slasher horror kind of thing. Please stop romanticizing serial killers. Please.
Yeah, no kidding.
Please.
Didn't they I only watched Coven once, but didn't they make the Axemen a love interest?
I did a whole essay, like a full page 5 essay report on the Axeman. I don't...
They literally have him as a love interest, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I think that, okay.
Okay.
As a horror writer, I think you can do that. But, you need to make it clear that that's bad. That's, not an okay thing, right? But if you just make it oh, teen drama, Swift bop. Swiftest of bops. So many bops.
Yeah.
Swift bop. That's one of the reasons that I'm really glad that we don't give killers the kind of press that they used to, because I could just imagine, I stan! Skinny legend! Your fave could never! Flower crown!
That just gave me an aneurysm. It just gave me a brain aneurysm.
I'm pretty sure I've legit seen a post of serial killers with flower crowns. That's a real post that exists.
Please stop.
Please stop doing that. And don't put flower crowns on serial killers. I'm gonna be crying otherwise.
I'm gonna cancel my Wi-Fi subscription.
I'm gonna go walk into the woods.
Yeah, I'm gonna go walk into the woods. Let the Fae take me. Let them, just get the out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in horror, I think that you can do that, but you just have to make that clear.
Yeah.
Make that clear. And
yeah.
Don't
always make your boundaries, not even boundaries, but just...
Alright. So, don't put flower crowns on serial killers. That's all I gotta say. About that, use your f***ing brain. It's one thing to be interested in true crime and from a philosophical, psychological fiction kind of level. It's another to put flower crowns on serial killers.
And romanticize them.
Yeah, that's not...
They are not meant to be romanticized.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be ooh, bad boy. It's another to be ooh, serial killer rapist. Let's not.
Yeah, let's please not.
Let's not. So while I think it's fine to say that, Satanism is misunderstood, it's misrepresented, it goes back to, how you use that tool.
Yes.
Right? So whether, Rich Ramirez truly believed in Satanism or not, you can't really separate the association from the symbols he drew on the houses of his victims, made them swear their love and loyalty to Satan. Now, it is true that Satanists don't necessarily believe in a real Satan. Ramirez found power and rebellion in Satanism and murder. I think that, this is a really big, heavy topic. Really knows what drives a person to do these horrible things. Could it just been power that motivated Ramirez? Maybe it was something else entirely.
But we will never know that.
Yeah. So that's all I have. I really don't know where to end this, because I'm not going to ask you if you want to have a Blaney.
No.
That's not the question to ask
No,
here.
that's not.
That's a bad question. So I really don't know where to end this.
I guess more just reiterating the point that in some cases I feel like, you know, paranormal and demons are not always fun to talk about, but in a way entertaining to listen to and talk about.
Yeah.
But what we really have to remember is that sometimes the demonic forms that are most present in our lives, I say very, like, broadly in more of our society.
We live in a society,
We
allegedly.
live in a society, yeah.
Allegedly.
Or the humans in the disgusting ways that they find power.
Yeah.
Very broadly.
Yeah. Like, you know, that whole true power and, like, the masses versus the true Satanists, the leaders. Like, I think that's a lot.
That's
There's
kind
a
of
lot.
frightening.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
And you know, like people like Richard Ramirez, they saw, you know, their victims as the masses, and he was their, you know, their ruler, right? As disgusting that is to say, that's how he looked at them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he believed in Satanism, that was how he looked at them. So you have this intense kind of like struggle for power kind of thing, and that's why I wanted to talk about the Donald Trump thing, right? Because like it's a lot. I don't know where I'm going with this, and I'm kind of like drunk at this point.
Yeah, no,
but
it's
like
very hard to get into that. That's again a whole other can of worms to unpack, and I don't think that many people can do it justice, especially a bunch of drunk 20-year-old Canadians.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, that's why I wanted to bring up, like, the fact that, like, because I do see a lot of posts circle around about people being like, oh, Church of Satan, they love the gays. Which is like, yeah, sure, that's great and all. You know, it's great that they accept the gays. But they believe in Trumpian ideals, and you can't ignore the true Satanist power and the masses. Like, you really, like, it goes beyond, like, I think that's what a lot of people, like, they think, like, oh, the gays, like, they accept the gay people, then they must be fine. But it goes a lot deeper than that. Mm-hmm. And I really wish that people would go deeper than that. Mm-hmm. Because, like, it's 2019. You know, it should be expected that, like, you know, people accept gay people. That should be, like, the standard. Right? Let's move past that now. Let's see what else they're about. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, I mean, like, we've already gotten political here, but I mean, we have a new federal election that's coming up, and I really need to do my research and go beyond just like...
Yeah, and, you know, for the Canadian elections on the 21st,
yes,
this will be out before that. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So you Canadians listening, go f***ing vote. And be smart.
Yeah, do your research.
I'm pointing at the mic accusingly. Go f***ing vote. Yeah. Make sure you're not throwing your vote away on, like, the meme party.
Not even the meme party, but just, like, I think very broadly, what I have admittedly done in a lot of past elections is just going off of what party I just know about broadly. Like, going like, oh yeah, I think I like NDP.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to be fair, we've only had one election since we've turned 18, and that was provincial.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That one was dumb.
Yeah. But this is the one that actually kind of
This is the one that matters. This is the one that really, like, not saying that the provincial one doesn't matter, because that matters most to us, but the federal one really matters too.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, anyways, be safe. Do your duty as a citizen to vote. Don't kill each other. Take care of yourself so you don't hit the edge.
And happy 1 year.
And happy 1 year to Demons and Bellinis.
Yeah. Hey babe, happy 1 year. I'm 27.
But yeah, sorry this episode was really heavy. Hopefully we were able to make it kind of light. I feel good about it. I don't feel like I made anyone cry, but if you did, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Our inboxes are always open.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you guys want to talk to someone about anything, like, hit me up, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll remind you that you're not alone.
And I know that we put up a couple disclaimers up here, but again, just kind of take care of yourself.
Yeah, like,
know your limits.
Yeah, viewer discretion is advised.
I say listener discretion because I realized that I said viewer discretion and I was like, wait, this isn't visual.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's audio.
Listener discretion is advised.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's the same thing. Like, when I say this, I love Sword and Scale and I love Monstro, and if you want to listen to them, know your limit.
Yeah.
Know your limit.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was telling Ashley earlier that I got triggered during the Elton John movie for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, though, that movie, it's a hard movie to watch.
Yeah.
Like, that's a heavy topic.
It is a very heavy topic. And yeah, just like, I thought that I'd be fine handling it, and I wasn't, so
yeah.
just...
and stay safe when you're out and about, and even at home.
Yeah.
People be wildin'. Alright.
Again, yeah, stay safe out there.
Stay peachy.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Hope we can keep you around. Yeah, stay peachy.